Okay, so all things created equal, 30 days from now, where do you want to be?
I want to be 4 days ahead.
Man, well, there's definitely been some progress. Are we 4 days ahead?
We're 4 days ahead of being 8 days behind.
All right, so that makes us, if I carry the one, we're
behind.
4 days behind.
A few days, yes.
The new cafe homestead is beginning to take shape. One crew is felling and milling the cedar logs for the entryway, paying homage to the original cafe building. Other crews are laying the roof, installing HVAC and drywall, and building a porch for this building, the front porch of Homestead Heritage. The project is now at the halfway point, and it's time to take stock of what's necessary to meet the deadline. Well, should we run inside and take a look at the progress?
Let's do it.
All right. Man, well, this is like a completely different place when we were here last time.
Yes.
I mean, we were just getting these trusses flown overhead.
We were actually only just starting on the other side, I believe, last time
That's
you
right.
and I were here. So this was still a skylight, big skylight.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
It's coming together.
Once we got the main structure up and kind of got the plywood on the roof, we were able to get the mechanical scopes in here. So the electrical, the plumbing, the HVAC, to start running all their wires in the walls. The whole upstairs, the offices are framed in, the bathrooms, that private dining on the other side has actually got sheetrock in it now. So
Wow.
there's been a lot of progress.
Should we go take a look at these logs?
Let's do it.
So, looks like we decided to actually strip the bark off of it and
Yes.
leave it like that. I think that was a good call.
Yes.
So I think it's gonna age and weather nicely.
It'll look like it's been here a lot longer than it actually has.
So on the other side of this, we've got a finished milled face. Is that right?
Yes.
This looks, it looks beautiful. It's like the world's largest walk-in cedar closet.
You got it.
I think it looks fantastic. Okay, so this is also all completely new. We've got this entire catwalk that runs all the way around. We've also got a huge vaulted space here, and I'm seeing a massive bracket right there in the center. It looks like we might also have, a chandelier or something? I see a big hook.
I think right now the design is at 9 feet in diameter right now.
Wow. And that's gonna be visible through that huge window here in the gable. So at night, you're gonna be out there in the parking lot looking in, you're gonna see this chandelier kind of sparkling out. It's gonna throw light over the, man, that's gonna have quite a feel to it.
It will.
So this back wall right here, that'll be behind the cash register. We saved a pretty substantial section of the original burnt log wall from the fire.
Yes.
And I understand that we're gonna actually mount that somehow to the back.
Yes.
Light it.
There'll be a section of it. It'll be lit. It'll be
Wow.
have a finish on it, and you won't get your hands dirty if you were to touch it. But it's actually gonna have a very prominent place here in the center section.
Well, I think that's gonna tell part of the story of coming back from this disaster, and now we've got something new like this. I think people are gonna love that.
They will.
So one day about midway through the project, I was interviewing Zane, and he expressed some doubt that they'd be done by the deadline. And so I just asked him directly, do you think you'll make the deadline? And he said, no, I don't. Okay, now let's figure out where do we go from here? Because at that point, we had a temporary restaurant set up in our church's fellowship hall, and we needed to be out of there the beginning of June.
It's been said before that necessity creates the possibility. When you have a plan A and a plan B and a plan C, well, then you have something to kind of fall back on and rely on when plan A doesn't go as planned. In this case, there really was a necessity. We had this hard deadline. And so a lot of the folks that were involved in the project got together and basically said, listen, we don't have a plan B. What do we need to do from this point forward to bridge that gap?
And so it was definitely a big leap to step out there as a team and say, no, but really maybe there is a possibility that we can do this. And just looking back again at the commitments that we had made to the general public, to ourselves, when we set out and said we could do this, once we all started to say, no, this is necessary, then each one had a piece of how it was then going to be possible. And so the impossibility wasn't all on one person. All of a sudden it started to be distributed around the room and around the community. And what became exciting was the difference between the hard deadline that we had set and then the one that we were projecting as what was actually possible. There was only a 2-week difference. We had ended up hanging sheetrock before we had a roof on. And we had some intense rain that spring. During the spring, we had water coming in where it was not supposed to. And we just had to keep fighting back those realities that kept waking up and facing us every single day, and kept pushing through it.
Born in England and raised in Waco, Texas, in a home surrounded by the skills of fine craftsmanship, Peter Sellers volunteered to lead the team, crafting stained glass pendant lights to go over the restaurant tables. With over 1,700 pieces of glass, he's got his work cut out.
Hello, sir.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Doing well.
So how many are you making total?
I believe we need 18 actually for the cafe. We're going to try to do about 22 of them.
Never actually watched this in process.
So it's each piece of glass is wrapped in copper. So the solder, the lead that we use actually doesn't stick to the glass. So each piece has to be wrapped in copper, and then the solder actually sticks to the copper.
So how does the copper stick? Is it
It's an adhesive tape. It wraps all the way around the edge.
just a real thin film?
It's a foil. Of course, with the heat, the adhesive goes away, but the solder forms a channel that wraps around it. We'll do a panel. Each one's wrapped in this foil. You can see it on this edge. They're all butted up against each other. We'll put a flux on there to help the lead flow, and then run solder lines down each line. And then you lay them out, stand them all up, usually just tack the edges. We have this copper plate that goes on the inside to kind of square it up. That makes them pretty solid. But yeah, then of course, put all the corners together. Then there's a lot of kind of touch up. This is still rough. We'll go down, smooth all these joints out, put the skirt on and smooth all those joints.
And that skirt is
Yes, sir, these pieces here.
And so you came up with this color coordination based off the upholstery for the booth and bench backs.
Yes, we put an Edison bulb in there, and it twinkles through all this textured glass. It looks really good. My goal is to be done a week before the cafe opening, so we have time to hang everything up. I know our electricians are working tirelessly, putting all the tracks and everything up,
Yes.
so they're gonna need some time positioning and all that kind of stuff, so.
I think you'll make it based off of what I'm seeing. I did not realize you were this far along.
Yes, sir.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, thank you.
Appreciate it.
The windows for the original Cafe Homestead were salvaged from a factory in Waco and were in themselves a piece of history. We asked our craftsmen at the woodshop at Homestead Heritage to replicate the original look and feel with today's performance and energy efficiency to help bring a continuity between the old and new restaurants. David Carlson is just the person to explain the window crafting process. How's it going?
Good. Welcome to the window factory.
Looks like you're still hard at it.
We are hard at it.
The question that I think a lot of people are going to ask is, why didn't we just order a window? Why build a window from scratch like this? I mean, it's more work.
I think one of the biggest factors would have been lead time, how fast you can get 34 custom windows.
Yeah, so there's nothing about this that's like a catalog item that you can just sort of put in the item number and hit 36 of them and get them shipped out to you. This is completely custom. Walk me through the process of putting this thing in there and lining it up. And
so we're running this straight through with a dado blade. So we've got the bulk of the material taken out, and then we're coming back and chiseling that 45 there. So we've made the jig to where you can, with one go, you can clamp it down. You've got both angles set, and that distance will be the same on every single one of them. You set it in here, and I'm just centering it right in the middle of that V there. Tighten these down. Then you can just come in here using a 2-inch timber framing slick. I just get it started in there.
that cuts nice.
It does.
I mean, obviously you're doing it with a hand chisel here.
We are. You could set up a miter saw to cut all these miters, but you've got a lot of stops, and this V here has to be consistent on every single one of them.
Okay.
And since your miter's only gonna cut one bevel, and then you're gonna have to cut all those bevels, then reset it and cut the other side, getting the distance right here to stay the same was gonna be the hardest part.
Oh yeah. Well, I see what you're saying as far as it not only being as fast as doing it a powered way, but at the same time, I mean, you're not stuck in here with a dust mask, safety glasses, you know, earplugs, the whole bit.
Exactly. It's pretty enjoyable.
It's pretty nice. It's pretty nice. I could stand here and watch you work all day.
Well, I'm not sure if I could stand here and work all day. But
There you go.
should we put one together so we can see how all those joints fit and all that?
Absolutely.
Seem
Let's
good?
do it.
All right.
So I'm assuming by the precision of these that you pretty much just eyeballed it.
Measure twice, cut it once.
There you go. Look at this. You're actually going to take this back apart. You're going to put glue in each one of these joints after you get that final fit.
Yes.
So have you figured out how many total windows do we have? How many total panes of glass?
All right, so we've got 34 total windows. It's about 450 panes altogether. Biggest one we're doing is 7 by 7.5 foot. Just one big assembly.
Yeah, you're not going to run down to the local hardware store and pick that up.
No. A lot of manufacturers now are doing just one solid pane of glass, but with the true divided light, every one of these panes is going to be at just a little bit of a different angle, so the light reflecting through there is going to have that authentic kind of...
Yeah, it's those little little things that you can't really put your thumb on exactly what it is, but it just lends a completely different feel.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm really excited. I saw that some of them are getting installed. I saw some of them already painted.
Yes.
And frankly, they're stunning. I cannot wait to see the stone wrap around and come up to these windows. I think they're gonna pop.
I'm thinking within the next week and a half, we'll have them all done.
Fantastic. Nice thing is you don't have to go far for delivery.
Exactly.
100 yards.
We'll just send them out the door one at a time.
Absolutely. Thanks for your time.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Looking good.
Good.
From here, the window frames will be assembled and then installed just a few yards away in the new cafe. The final step in completing the windows is to glaze them. Ernie Garvin, a now retired pharmacist from Homestead Heritage, glazed the original windows for Cafe Homestead back in 1994. Now, nearly 30 years later, he volunteered to help glaze the windows on the new cafe, along with his son Josh and his grandsons. I sat down with him to hear more of his story.
Tell me about the process. Tell me about how you learned how to glaze and what the purpose of glazing really is.
Well, I learned from my dad on Martha's Vineyard many, many years ago, back in the 50s. I was probably about 10 years old. And on the island, you have a lot of Victorian homes with lots of windows. And my dad taught me very young. Glazing is a process where it's like a putty type substance. And that seals the window from getting a moisture absorbed. So the process is very important that you run that bead down the side of the glass on all four sides and that it's tight to the window. And after that sets up for about 2 weeks, then you can paint it. And the painting process is very important to get just the right line of paint onto the window, just beyond the glazing, so you have a good seal.
Wow. So that's what you did on the original cafe. Now those windows, they weren't factory windows.
No, sir. They were all refurbished. We had to adapt with each window.
Moving into the new cafe, I drove by one time and I saw Ernie Garvin out on the front porch, and it looked like you were glazing windows. You glazed with your son Josh.
Yes.
On the first building.
And this building also. Josh came and helped us.
Well, and it's kind of a lost art, you know.
Yes.
I mean, today you go and you get a factory window, and it's not a true divided light, meaning it's just one big sheet of glass that they then put a frame over to make it look like it's individual panes. And there's no glazing that's required on a window like that.
No.
But with the new cafe, these weren't reclaimed windows. We actually built them from scratch, but we built them traditionally. So these windows actually required glazing. And there's not a lot of people that really know how to do that anymore.
No, sir.
And so you passing that down, from your dad to your kids, and Josh having the opportunity to then pass it down to his kids, that's amazing.
It is. I think that's what gave us the strength to be able to keep at it until it was all done.
What do you think of the new building?
It's pretty breathtaking. It just really puts you in awe to see what, when people come together, what you can accomplish.
One of the things that we were conscious of was a continuity between the old building and the new building. As somebody who was there at the beginning, I was not. Do you feel like there's a continuity between the two, or is it kind of out with the old, in with the new?
Oh no! When I saw just the commitment, even in the windows, to preserve the authenticity of the original windows, it just spoke a lot to me. To capture what we had in the first building again, and I believe we really did. And what you feel, we did do that.
Joe Quinones is a craftsman at Homestead Heritage, known far and wide for his skill in blending various mediums together into beautiful works of art. The exterior of the original Cafe Homestead building was lit with handcrafted wall sconces. Joe is making sconces in that same tradition, yet scaled larger and employing a traditional method of copper hole punch art.
Hello, sir. Hi. How's it going?
Good. I am about to cut this piece for a sconce that's going to look like this.
Wow. It's pretty shiny comparatively.
It is. It's brand new, clean copper, and when it's all done after we antique it and distress it, it's going to look like that one right there.
So these are all kind of just landmark scenes on our property there. Team of horses pulling a hay wagon.
A hay wagon, yep.
Maybe that's wheat on there.
I have no idea. It's a bunch of dots, but it's really neat. And that is the grist mill.
So how many are there total?
There's 10 of them, 10 copper sconces. So I'll take you through the whole process of what I'm doing.
Yes.
We're gonna take a pattern just like this one and lay it on top of this and punch through it. Okay. I'm gonna mark that 23.5, 18.5 inches wide by 30 inches tall.
That's great.
So the next step is take this and anneal it. So let's take this over here and fire it up. So I'm gonna heat it up to about 600-700 degrees.
Okay.
And the whole thing, so it's perfectly soft all the way through.
I see.
Good, here we go. You might want to stand back a little bit.
Look out. Sounds like a jet taking off.
Very hot. Woo. Okay.
So you have to leave that for a while.
Actually, I can cool it off with a bucket of water, and it's.
And that isn't temperate?
Nope. Copper is a non-ferrous metal.
Okay.
And the only thing that's going to harden it again
It's just work hardening it.
Work hardening. Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Woo! That already radically changed the way it looks.
And it's cool enough to pick right up.
That just pulls the...
Look how soft that is.
Wow.
So it's like a wet tortilla.
Huh.
So we're gonna fold it this way on our form. Here we go.
So is this the last scene?
Yes. Windmill. Just want to line that up. Okay, I'm gonna hold this up, get you to this zigzag. I'll lay this down, then we'll do the other side. Good. So what I'm trying to achieve is the traditional Southwestern punch copper look.
Okay.
And to do that, I'm using an awl. I've sharpened this, modified it just a little bit, so it's a little sharp. It's about the right diameter that I want. And with every punch, it's gonna actually dimple the copper. And I want that dimple, it's gonna give it more depth at the seam.
So you can see that here.
It'll bring it alive.
Because of how soft that copper is now, it kind of compresses the edges in. So that would be a pretty radical difference between drilling the holes as opposed to punching them.
Yes. And this is a traditional method
Yes.
of tin hole punch lighting. And so all I'm doing is finding the center of my little dot and giving it a little tap. On the first scene, on that one I counted, it was just under 4,000 holes.
4,000 holes for one scene.
For one scene. This one's
So
a little
now
less.
just multiply that times 10.
Times, exactly. Well, some of them are fewer, definitely fewer holes, simpler scenes. And I think that was the most intense one we have. So I'll continue on with this until I've got the whole pattern, and it's gonna take close to an hour and a half to do all
To punch all those holes.
To punch all these holes.
Okay.
The whole thing looked like this when I patinaed it, and I used steel wool and scrubbed it off just the image here in that shape, and left the darker on the outside to frame it.
That's
and
neat.
It looks really sharp. Also, it's getting the highlights of the copper and leaving the dark patina and
those
the green
compressions
inside those holes.
Yes,
yeah.
yes. I haven't seen how it looks once you have light coming through it.
Yes, it's exciting.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Are you sure you're ready?
I'm positive.
There's light.
There we go.
Look at that.
So of course it's going to have another band across the top.
It's beautiful. Wow. This is exciting.
It is. I love it. It's very satisfying when you turn that light on and see the light come through.
It's going to be more satisfying when it's on the building and the light's reflecting off that stone.
Yes, it's going to be beautiful.
We're now on the home stretch, and as the final date approaches fast, the team is busy with a host of details. The floors have to be laid and finished. The railings around the upstairs catwalk must be fashioned and installed along with the grand chandelier. The dining chairs have to be built. The retail furnishings are being constructed by craftsmen all the way in Idaho. Our Waco weaving team are hard at work weaving the material for the booth seat cushions. And a salvaged burned cedar log wall from the original Cafe Homestead is being repurposed. What was once ashes is rapidly being transformed into a thing of beauty.
Looks great. It works, doesn't it?
Yeah, I was worried about a massive roof, blank roof, but the dormers really do it. They break it up, and it's wonderful proportions. The front porch like the original.
All these windows and doors were handcrafted right there at the Heritage Furniture Shop. We were here 20 weeks ago, standing in the ashes and ruins, and 20 weeks later,
unheard of. I mean, and to achieve that level of craft.
Yes.
It's hard to imagine that. It's wonderful.
Now, I will say that some people have joked and said, are these railings or are they hitching posts for elephants and rhinos?
But you know, I saw that, I said, perfect. Because if you had put the small log railings from the original, they would have looked so out of place.
Yeah.
Everything moved up in proportion, and it's perfect. It mirrors the first building.